So, how did you find other people who had what you had, or how did you like seek them out?
I don't remember how exactly I found them. I found, for one thing, I had an assistant working in the house. That was extremely helpful. And it was not really entirely the days before email. It was, and yet it was. In 1983, I had computerized my office. In 1983, the record industry had been computerized. So we could actually get access to a service that allowed us to communicate via email, which in the record industry was incredible because it meant you had an act out on the road, and normally you wouldn't be able to reach them at certain hours of the night or day. They'd be out of touch. And you didn't want them to be out of touch. You wanted to know what their gross receipts had been that night, how they'd managed to settle. I mean, I didn't know these things, but others did. How they'd managed to settle with the manager of an arena or with a promoter, and a whole lot of other little details. Well, once we were all on the internet, you had your Compaq, they had their Compaq, and the two of you could communicate at any hour of the day or night. And one of the advantages of emails is I'm awake at 2:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, but you're not. I leave an email for you. You get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's when I'm fast asleep. Fine. You get to read the email at 6 o'clock. You leave your email answer for me, and I wake up at my hours when you're not available anymore, and I've got your answer. It made things so much easier for all of us. It was ridiculous. But in 1988, when I got the illness, normal people, were not used to the internet. I'd been on the internet for, I can't do that arithmetic, 5 years. Um, and so I used my assistant I'd write stuff up on the computer and she'd have to get it out by snail mail. And I found the Massachusetts Association for Chronic Fatigue Syndrome, and they had a really good newsletter. I was looking for newsletters that were good because I was looking for tips. I was looking for tips on treatment modalities, on treatment techniques. Then eventually we tried to go to Susan Levine, who had a reputation as being one of the top CFS doctors in New York. She wouldn't make house calls. She insisted I come into her office. Come into her office. I couldn't get to my own fucking kitchen, much less get to her office. It shows you how much she knew about CFS. Screw her. I'm sorry. I get a little angry with doctors who are not doctors, who don't care about patients. At any rate, we finally found Dr. Derek Enlander, and my wife convinced Enlander to come out and see me. And Enlander did something incredibly bright, especially for the 90s. He gave me the email address of another one of his patients, a patient in Texas, and said, contact her. And I did. And then the two of us, her name was Linda Diane Scalf, then the two of us went out hunting like a pack. We went out hunting on the internet. We went out hunting for every bit of information we could find, but we also got paper journals. There was a CFIDS association, and we got their journal. And we'd go through these things voraciously, and we'd exchange information on the internet. And without her to support me, I don't know what I added to her life, but without her, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair, because she helped me find the two major things that helped me were oxytocin, which I read about in one of the journals, the CFIDS journals or newsletters, and convinced my doctor to give me eventually once we found out what the protocol was for it. And the other thing is called gabapentin. Well, Linda found out about gabapentin. And Linda went directly to Dr. Seastrunk in Texas, who was using it, and got the protocol. And we got it to my doctor. Now, doctors are humans, and that means you give them an idea. They don't want to have ideas from their patients. They want to have their own ideas. They need to be the genius. We all do. You do, I do, we all do. And so he'll sit on it for 6 months until it arises from the depths of his mind as an idea that was his idea, and then he'll prescribe it. Well, 6 months is an intolerable amount of time when you have a really serious illness. Nonetheless, it's better than nothing. And the fact is, he put me on these two things at my request, and they very, very, very slowly, over years, seem to have made me better. I mean, I'm better, no question about it. I traveled to Moscow, Beijing. No, yes, I've been in Beijing. Moscow, Beijing, Chengdu, Seoul, Korea, Amsterdam, Paris, all over the place. And I have no difficulty doing it. I have the time of my life. And I wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for support, if it weren't for my doctor putting me together with another patient and the two of us becoming a support group, and for our accessing support groups like the woman who headed the Massachusetts CFS group was incredibly useful for many years. Even her husband was useful.